Hello, everyone. Welcome to On the Line. I'm Joe Rexrode. We've got a smaller crew again this week, and we've got a theme. We're going to talk all coaching-related items today, some award-related items, but actually I want to start with the story of the college landscape in terms of jobs. Blake Topmeyer and Adam Sparks. I want to talk about Jeff Brohm doing a really good job at Purdue after Western Kentucky sort of elevated his career. Bobby Petrino absolutely drives Louisville football into the ground. He's out. Jeff Brohm, the obvious number one choice. I've been really hesitant to think that he might leave Purdue for that job. I want to know what you guys think about that.
I think if there wasn't the Louisville connection with Jeff Brohm, I don't know why he would even be considering this. He's got Purdue in a much better place right now than where Louisville sits. He's paid reasonably well at Purdue. I think he's making about $4 million a year. And I think the expectations at Purdue are very reasonable. He doesn't need to go out and win 9-10 games at Purdue for him to have a long run there. But the feelings of nostalgia, the feelings of home, pull pretty hard at coaches. That's the one thing in addition to money and prestige, I think, that can make coaches move. But overall, I think I'm going to say Jeff Brohm stays at Purdue and doesn't go to Louisville.
Yeah, if he chooses Louisville, that means all he cares about is kind of being connected to that school and being comfortable where he lives, which is perfectly fine. But if he's looking at it as the best situation for him as a coach and to win and to compete for national championships, he can sit at Purdue for another couple of years and get a high-end SEC job, a high-end, a better Big Ten job, although Purdue's pretty good. It's a lateral move at best if he goes to Louisville, and he can take a step up if he stays at Purdue long enough. But it seems like he's going to go to Louisville. There seems to be a little bit of a stink around the Louisville program, so I hope he knows what he's getting into.
Yeah, it's a stink brought in by Bobby Petrino. So I guess we all agree on this. You know, if you're Jeff Brohm, I mean, Louisville's a great place, but West Lafayette, Indiana, best peanut butter burger I've ever had at the Triple X Diner. All right, let's get into some arguments. Adam just totally looks like, what the heck are you talking about? It's really good.
Is there a second peanut butter burger that you've ever had? Really, is it just one of one?
No, there's a pretty good one in Lincoln, Nebraska, too. We can do a separate show on this another time. Let's argue a little bit. How about National Coach of the Year? We'll go national, then we'll go closer to home. Who's your National Coach of the Year, guys?
I'll go first on this one. The Brian Kelly is my pick. Sometimes it's easy to win at Notre Dame. I don't think it was a given this year. He's got them up to number 3 in the country. They had to make a quarterback change. They've had close games. They had a big win over Michigan. They've survived the close games. They had to replace their defensive coordinator. There were some decisions Brian Kelly had to make, and they're still undefeated. Now, my dark horse on this that won't get many votes is Josh Heupel at Central Florida. Scott Frost goes undefeated there, and it's a hard thing following up the guy, but he followed up the guy, and they're still undefeated. That winning streak is at 21. So Heupel walked into a tough situation, and he's still winning, but Brian Kelly is my pick.
There's this guy, Joe, at the University of Alabama. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's named Nick Saban. His teams are beating opponents by an average of 36 points per game. I know we seem to always just throw Saban out of this conversation because, it's Alabama and they should be good. Yeah, Alabama should be good. We knew they were going to be good. Did we think they were going to beat opponents by an average of 36 points per game? I mean, they're beating top 5 opponents. They played LSU a couple weeks ago, beat them 29-0. If you don't like the easy pick, and I think Saban should be an easy pick at this point. If you don't like that one, how about Mike Leach at Washington State? He's got them at number 8 in the country, just one loss. That's not an easy program to win at. So I would say if you don't want the easy pick of Saban, I'm going with the Pirate.
Well, I like the Mike Leach pick there, especially if you've seen the picture he has now in his office, the George Costanza. I mean, that alone should give him Coach of the Year. But don't give me the Saban, Brian Kelly. Come on, guys. We got to go with a place where it's hard to win that a coach is winning. It's Dino Babers of Syracuse. I mean, that West Lafayette is like Manhattan compared to that place. I mean, that place hasn't won since Donovan McNabb. Give Dino Babers some love. Okay, well, I guess I know your answer on SEC Coach of the Year then, Blake. If you got Nick Saban winning National Coach of the Year, I mean, give him every award.
I mean, why not? At 36 points per game, average margin of victory, sure. I mean, they're going to roll to an SEC title, and we're just going to totally ignore the fact that he's dominating his peers. But if we're not going to give it to Saban, again, if you're throwing him out of the conversation, how about Mark Stoops? I know Kentucky just lost to Tennessee. That's still lingering in people's minds. But the fact is, Kentucky still stands a very good chance of going 9-3. It would be Kentucky's first 9-win season since 1984. And earlier this season, they snapped a 31-game losing streak to Florida. And it always seems like low expectations are sort of key. Exceeding low expectations are kind of key to winning these Coach of the Year awards. Not much was expected out of Kentucky this year. They were sort of a dark horse pick in some circles. I think they were 5th in the preseason in the East in the preseason media poll. Stoops has exceeded those expectations, even with a lousy performance against Tennessee this week.
Yeah, if you don't go with the obvious one of Saban, and by the way, if Saban wins one of those awards, he has to win both. But if you don't go with him, I look at the round robin of the 3 candidates: Pruitt, Mullen, Stoops. Pruitt beat Stoops. Mullen beat Pruitt. Stoops beat Mullen. So they're kind of even all on those. You know, if Mullen wins these last 2 games, Idaho, Florida State, which you probably will, that's 9 wins. I give it to Dan Mullen. Well, let me say this. I would give it to Dan Mullen if he can win those last 2 and UT lose. If Tennessee wins their last 2 and gets to 7 wins, I think Jeremy Pruitt deserves it as much as anybody. It'd be between him and Stoops, and he beat Stoops head-to-head. So any of those 3, I'm fine winning it. But again, if Pruitt can win the last 2, I think he should get pretty heavy consideration.
No love for Coach O, huh? Coach O, we all thought he'd be fired by now. But I agree with Adam. I think 2 more wins for Pruitt. I think it's awfully tough. And I think Stoops has done a tremendous job. He's exceeded expectations. But, when you beat him 24-7 like that in a game that you weren't supposed to win, I think that sets Pruitt up here for a run at the thing. And
but
by
here's
the way,
the thing we got to remember is that Stoops already had this program. Mullen and Pruitt stepped into a new program. I think it was harder for those 2 guys than it was Stoops, despite a good coaching job by Stoops.
Well, then that comes to the argument of, are you talking, I mean, how much credit do you give a guy for the overall building of a program? And that's a very tough program to build to what it is versus coming into a tough situation and having a good 1 year. I think that's actually another argument for Stoops.
And I think so much of this often is based on where you were expected to finish in preseason polls in the conference. I mean, if you look at Dan Mullen and Jeremy Pruitt head-to-head, both of them came in off 4-win seasons. Both of those programs were a mess last year. Florida stomped Tennessee. Florida's going to finish with a better record than Tennessee. But the one thing in Pruitt's favor is the fact that they were picked to finish 6th in the East, and Florida was picked to finish, I believe, as 3rd.
All right, take of the day comes from me in my car about Dino Babers. Thanks for playing, everyone. We'll be back next week.